Hey everyone, so in the beginning of the year I had done an introduction on the Jeep. What I planned for it, some stuff I'd already done. I actually did a ton of filming in regards to the install videos on a bunch of this stuff. Got to editing and none of the audio had been recorded. Something was up with my cameras. I had a new camera I was using for part of the process and not just my phone. I think I worked it out. It was something I had with the settings and the audio. It wasn't recording. Um, but I wasn't going to take everything off the Jeep and redo the install video. I did do an attempt at here, this is what I did. This is what you have to do. And it just seemed cheesy. Um, and I didn't end up publishing it or editing it or anything. So I'm going to flip on over to the Jeep here and show you what I've done so far. So last I left off, the jack was mounted on the front and I was planning an install video for that. That filming actually went through the process pretty well. I just don't think I ever finished editing it because it was taking a lot of time. So if I can find those files, which I will be able to because I'm meticulous with how I store stuff, that video will be up to date. It's pretty self-explanatory. But since then, I've installed the light bars, the front and rear fenders, and the steps on the side. All of which I had install videos for, and it just ended up being, like I said, the audio issues was with the fenders and the steps, the light bars. My only complaint about Rough Country's stuff is their measurements are a bit off. So this was a whole big task to get on. And it ended up taking me and my stepfather a few hours to do. And I decided early on that I just didn't want to deal with trying to film and get it done. I just wanted to get it done. As far as wiring everything in, I have the aux switches inside, so it's just running everything down into the engine compartment and splicing it into the pre-existing aux terminals wires, and it's good to go. So everything here you see except for the jack itself, and I think the mounts for the jack are Rough Country or Wolfstorm in the case of the fenders. With the fenders, we'll start off there. Wolfstorm came up with the brilliant idea that they were going to put markers on the side, but not blinkers in the front, just the DRLs. So I had to drill in and hand wire in these blinkers. It worked pretty well. They look very nice on the front, but for whatever reason or another, the right side blinker here failed, and the wiring was such a big hassle. I'm just replacing them. There's a fender that I bought that didn't exist when I originally bought these, and basically it mimics the stock light design where there's one light here and it changes from the DRL to the blinker when you're signaling, and they're a little bit sleeker. They come in more plug and play, or at least it should be plug and play. If it's not plug and play, I'm just gonna cut the bracket off of this and wire it in and make it plug and play. That way I'm not getting rid of any stock connectors. As far as the rear fenders, when I put them on, my buddy said it best. It looked like Wolfstorm said, "Hey, we're gonna design a fender flare kit or fender kit for the Jeep Gladiator." And then they looked at two different people and they said, "Hey, you design the front one, and you design the back one, and we don't want you to communicate with each other whatsoever throughout the entire process, and whatever you have when you're finished designing it is what's going to be the kit." Because the front looked awesome. The back looked terrible. So this fender that's on the back is just, I don't even remember what brand it is. It was drastically cheaper, and it was just bolt on. I didn't have to do anything special. It looks way better than the Wolfstorm fenders. The liner is Wolfstorm. Basically, when we installed these, we were able to work the stock fender liner with the front ones, used ducting tape and spray painted it black. It's actually starting to come off after however many months. That was not remotely possible with the back, so I bought the fender liners that were Wolfstorm, so it kind of looked like it was all the same kit still. And yeah, so I'm gonna walk over here and you'll see my original pile of fenders, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. Okay, so these are the Wolfstorm rear fenders, and basically when they're on the truck they look so huge, it just looked absolutely goofy. And then this piece sticks out so far that when I was driving places, I mean, the fenders themselves stuck out really far, but then you add this like inch and a half piece, and I actually worried, like going around corners and stuff, that I was going to clip something or someone's vehicle, and it did not look good. So, at least not in my opinion. I'm going to post them and try and sell them, and if someone wants them, then more power to them. If not, I may end up just scrapping them, getting some money back for them. But they got to get cleaned up. Materials wise, they're really strong. I just didn't like them in the long run. So that's why I swapped them out. And like I said, it looks like two different people designed the front and back, and they didn't communicate at all while they were doing it, and then they decided to still make it a set. But we'll jump back to the actual Jeep now and continue on the update as to what I've done. So the last thing that I've actually managed to install was the rock slider steps. And basically there's 3 mounting points, 1 in the front, 2 in the back. It's really easy to undo and get on there. They've been great. I haven't taken it too much off-roading. Haven't had the time, but the little bit I have done, they've worked really well. And I would buy them again. They were the cheapest ones that I could find that weren't ugly looking. There were cheaper ones, but I didn't like the looks of them, and I wanted actual steps because I do take my grandmother places when she needs a ride somewhere, so it's easier for her to get in. And overall, I'm happy with all the rough country stuff. Their measurements could be a little bit better. These were somewhat off, but not so off that like it doesn't fit. It's just you kind of gotta have a second person to force the part up to fit the whole lineup. Leading into the light bar, same thing. Their measurements weren't so off it doesn't fit, but you kind of need to force it in certain times. Nothing that like damages the Jeep. I was trying to do it by myself initially, so like under this piece there's some scraping because as you can see, sort of, this comes down and it almost touches the paint. I don't think it should do that, but again, that's something these manufacturers should really be testing when they do this stuff. You know, like right here it floats, and it floats here. Up here it doesn't. So maybe I got a bad one. Maybe that's just the manufacturers not paying attention to their specifications. I don't know, but my stepfather ended up having to come out because it was like I'd get this bolt and this bolt in, and then this one wouldn't line up. Or like it was like some combination of 2 out of the 3 were in and it wouldn't line up. And what ended up happening was we had to take the light bar back off, and because I just had it like loosely hanging there to hold everything into place, because like, you know, it's got to fit. So I was like, the light bar is going to go in and I'll know where it's got to be, everything's got to be. And we actually had to take the light bar off and put a ratchet strap on each end of the bracket and ratchet the bracket so that it lined up. Again, it didn't cause any damage to the Jeep, but with stuff like this, it should really fit better than that did. As far as it functioning, it's awesome. It worked great. I want to say it's only 20,000 lumens. It's not the brightest one out there, but you don't really need much more than that, in my opinion. I do have the front bumper and the winch all assembled and ready to go. I just haven't had time to really put it on. And I don't know that I'm going to have time to put it on before the end of the year, because in Massachusetts, we have inspection stickers. And with this blinker not working, I have to get this fender off and the new one's on. And then I bought fender liners that aren't going to be as janky as these are. These work fine, but they're not as nice looking as the new fender liner will be. So I will be doing an install video for that fender, the front fenders, because I might as well, since these are coming off and the new ones are going on. It's the same basic concept as the stock ones, except the stock, sorry, tripping over my own words. The stock ones have some push pins you got to undo. But other than that, there's not much more to the Jeep that is getting done. I have a lift kit that I decided not to put on because I feel like it would be a downgrade from the stock Fox shocks. And that's where it's at. So thank you for watching. That's my Jeep update. I'll get as much of the rest of the process on video as I can, provided I don't have any technical issues like I did originally. And hopefully you enjoyed.